So hi everybody, this is Lynda Keane, and today I've got with me Terri Mitchell. Terri's from Texas in the USA, and we're going to talk about her journey through the aquatic industry and her areas of interest. So grab yourselves a tea, a coffee, a glass of wine, whatever time of day it's appropriate for you, and sit back and enjoy. So hi Terri.
Hi Lynda, thank you so much for having me today. I think this is so fun what you're doing with all these aquatic people.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, it's really nice to actually, the people that when I came into the industry and would be following and watching and learning from, to actually sort of introduce you to people that are sort of new in the industry, and you know, just to really share your journey and your story as to how you got to do the things that you do and to be where you are. Because quite often I think people, they start off and they sort of maybe start off even as a swimming teacher or in the aqua fitness industry, or you know, a personal trainer or something on land, and sort of come into the water doing the things that we do. So I know that you've had a journey that's sort of like meandered through various avenues. So, you know, tell me, what made you get involved in working in a swimming pool?
Well, my mother has pictures of me when I was a year old in my diaper holding a water hose. And so I guess it's been a long time. So I was born to be in the water, I think.
Excellent.
But I taught land exercise after high school and in college so I could make extra spending money. And I got a job in public relations at a fitness facility, and they had a big pool. And I actually took swimming lessons, and I learned how to swim, and I loved it. I just loved to swim. And well, of course, they had a water exercise class. And so back in the day, this was in the 80s, we did our land program, land exercise in the water. That's what we did. And one of the women that I worked with was the head trainer of the lifeguards. So she was in charge of CPR and first aid. And she says, you know what, there's this conference and I think we need to go to it. It's in Indiana, and it's the, I can't, CNCA, whatever that stood for. So I went, and I was going through the exhibit hall, and I see Aquatic Exercise Association. Oh, and I got to meet Ruth Sova. And wow, that was just, she had just started the Aquatic Exercise Association. And I go, oh, we've been doing land aerobics in the pool. And she says, well, you know, we have a program. And I thought that was very interesting. And also Craig Stewart from Hydrofit was at that conference.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had just developed his buoys and the Hydrofit cuffs,
yeah,
which were very interesting. So I went back home, and there's lots of details that I'm missing, but somehow I was in touch with Ruth, and she had started the certification, and I invited her to come to Austin, because I was living in Austin, to teach the certification. So she came and certified a bunch of us, because by then I guess we had met a lot of people and we had a mailing list. And so I got certified. And then maybe less than a year later, she said, hey, would you like to be a trainer? And I'm like, okay, because I knew a lot of exercise. And so I was one of the first trainers. I didn't have to go through all the training and take all the tests to try out. I just got assigned, which was kind of fun. Excellent. And so we did the aquatic exercise certification, and in those days we set it up, and more people became trainers, and they had an official training program to become an AEA trainer. And so I was an AEA trainer for 25 years.
Wow.
And went to places that I never would have gone to otherwise, and got to go to places all over the world, in fact, as a result of being Fabulous. An AEA trainer. Yeah.
Fabulous. I'm just trying to think, actually, as you're talking, when I qualified with AEA, and it was in the 90s, and it was Julie C.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when we were at Sanibel and the fire alarms went off. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah,
we were all standing outside.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I was in the middle of my exam and the fire alarms, and we all went out, and I thought, I should have bought some paper. I could have been swatting up on the rest of it by now. But yeah, I think that was a very famous year. I think everybody that was there that year remembers the.
You remember that part, right? Yeah.
Going outside, but there, and the Wyndham, of course, on I when the A.R.E.A. So it used to be between the two at the time. So yes, I remember coming to your classes. I remember you did the water walkers.
I did. Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yes, they were this
tough.
big. They went on your foot, and they at first they moved. They kind of like a big stingray.
Yes.
And yes, and they moved, but then they moved so much they broke. So he made it more of a fixed, flat piece.
All right. Yeah. No, I had the obviously the original ones that sort of had like the fins on. So, and it was you who took the class when I did that. So
yeah, very good.
That was a long time ago as well. Oh dear. Gosh, I'm bringing back so many memories to myself now. So
there's lots of them.
There is. So you became an A.E.A. trainer, and you, as you say, you traveled the world. You did all that. What would you say was sort of like your area of interest when you were sort of teaching the fitness side of things? Because we'll talk about sort of therapy and the other part of your journey in a minute. But let's just sort of like dive a little bit further into the fitness side of things. So.
Well, there were a lot of different programs, so you got your A.E.A. certification, and then there were the continuing education workshops. So Friday night might have been a workshop, or Saturday was the all-day certification, where you lectured, and then people took a written test, and then they actually had a practicum whereby you said, move at water speed, show me jumping jacks at half water speed, etc. So there was a practicum. And then the next day, there would be continuing ed workshops like for older adults, or cardio conditioning programs for children programming, strengthening, interval training. So just 3-hour workshops the next day, which was always interesting. And the impetus of that was we would get equipment from sponsors, and so you would get to try handbars, or Speedo had some resistant equipment, drag equipment. Of course, HydroFit had the buoys and the cuffs. There were just the flex paddles. There were all types of equipment, and I think that was interesting because I think equipment gives you a good variety sometimes. To just try different things for strengthening or support.
I think also because people are so used to going to a land class or to the gym and using equipment. So it's sort of like, it's nice to use equipment, especially when you've got the sort of men in the class, to use equipment in the class. So just gives you a bit more variety then as well. So what's your favorite piece of equipment then? Out of all of that, what became your favorite?
That is just so hard to say, because there's the flotation belts, and I like a lot of the drag equipment. I like the Aqualogics. I think it's very versatile, because especially the Aqua fins that were designed to wear around your ankle, but you can also wear them around your wrist. And if you get a snug enough fit, they don't move, and you can get some drag resistant for the upper body. And then the bells are a good drag resistant for the upper body for sure. Putting the fins around your ankle is great resistance. And in fact, I have some for some of my class today that I used, and it was their first time to use them, and they're like, oh, these are good, because they've been used to using handbars, the foam handbells, dumbbells, buoys, whatever you want to call them. And so it was very different for them. And of course, you can give them some education about how drag resistance strengthens the muscle pair rather than just one muscle. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Absolutely. And that's another class that I went into, yours. the warrior program, and you did the
oh yeah.
So yeah, so that was using the Aqualogics equipment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still like handbars too, because you can use them to support for flutter kicking or non-weight bearing activities, or for strengthening upper body, or for some abdominal work. So they play a big role in our classes. But I have found that a lot of people that go online to buy some handbars, and they go, oh, I want these pink ones because that'll look really good with my suit. And then they get them, and they're these huge things, and they're too buoyant for them, and they can't really use them. They haven't built up the strength yet for them. So, so we've got to be careful about where we send them to get their handbars. I mean, you can Google it, but the websites usually don't tell you the sizes.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And they also ought to actually add, like you're saying, that if you have too big a dumbbell, it's the same, you know, though it's made of foam, the same as the small ones, the resistance is going to be different. You've got to be able to maintain that scapular stability, get those shoulders down. And if you can't hold them under the water for a period of time, then they're too big and they're too difficult for you. So
and their shoulders are up here, or else they can't even extend their elbows. You know, right? Yeah. And so
Oh dear. So yes, it's I know what you mean. They do. They want the ones that match their costume, or
exactly.
I'm really strong, I can do this, and it's not just.
Well, I'll build up to it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime.
Yeah. So okay, so we've talked then about the equipment and your use of them, which is, you know, really good and really interesting. But do you have a particular group of people you like working with? Do you like to work this sort of energetic athletic type, or do you like the sort of the older population, or somebody with a sort of condition or something? Because I know you're very flexible in your teaching and diverse.
Oh, thanks. Well, Lynda, you know, I've just been really fortunate to have this a group of women that have been with me for many, many years, and we've been able to go year round. So they're really pretty fit, and they like to work hard, and they like, you know, good cardio conditioning. And so it's fun. And this, we've been open almost a year, since May. And every now and then a new person will come, and I'll talk to them and nurture them, go at your own pace, you know, don't feel like you have to keep up with everybody, because they're professionals. They've been coming for years. They're professional water exercisers. And so some people come back and keep trying, and some people are like, that's just too hard.
Yeah. So generally, just a general, whatever you sort of teach to whatever you see in front of you. Is that about right?
Well, yes, because, you know, it can be for everybody, but I guess some people are maybe a little intimidated, or maybe aren't as fit, and just prefer not to, or maybe they don't like it, you know, but some come back and some don't. And it's not a gentle class. I mean, we like to work hard. They like to work hard. And
excellent. I mean,
and you can.
Yes, this is it. That's exactly what I was just about to say, is that actually people sort of sit there and think it's not a hard workout, but you can work really hard in the water. And it's resistance all around. So you've got that muscle balance going on as well. So
exactly.
Really
and we use I call my class Aquatic Fitness with Music Appreciation. And all during this COVID season that we've had, I made special playlists. There's one on alcohol. There's so many songs about beer and tequila and whiskey, everything. There's a playlist on the states. You would be amazed at how many states have a song about them. Cities, Texas cities, dreams. I just made up all these fun playlists, and you know, hey, who did this one? There were a lot of deceased musicians this past year, so we had a deceased musicians playlist. And it's just so much fun to, you know, to sing along and work hard to to music that we really like.
Thinking now then about, we've just sort of like been discussing about the Aqua Fitness and doing the classes and your lovely group of ladies. What sort of pool do you work in? I know that you said that you've been working outdoors, or at least you did, maybe you said before when we were chatting, but I know you're working outdoors at the moment, obviously because of COVID and everything. But are you sort of part of a leisure centre or like a medical institute? Because I know over there in the States you get a lot more sort of medical institute pools and things like that, or university or something. What sort of environment are you teaching in?
Well, currently I am teaching at a city pool. It has 6 lanes, 25 yards. And during COVID, I can't remember how I found it, but I saw Lori Denemy doing a Zoom, a meeting, conference, whatever, with Mick and Sue Nelson and someone from USA Swimming. And they were talking about how the chlorine killed the coronavirus, and you could set up situations where you could safely be in the pool. Mm-hmm. And so I found out more about it, and we were in contact with Mick and Sue Nelson, and I looked at the CDC website and USA Swimming and told the pool director about it. So we all had this meeting with the swim coaches and a couple of lifeguards and the director, and we decided, hey, we could make this safe. And so they put up signs, 6 feet apart, and masks were required, and they took away all of the chairs on the deck, and there were some picnic tables that were scattered around the pool, and only 2 people per table. And then they decided to open the pool, and it being outside, it was safe. And people still kept their distance, and we had to limit how many people could come into the pool and be spaced out. We call it spaced out. I like to be spaced out rather than social distance. I never liked that term. We're spaced out. And so it turned out that I had to teach every morning because we had to limit the number of people, and there were so many people. So they could only come twice per day, twice per week. And so we got through the summer, and I had a part-time job scheduling people. I had their emails. You can come these 2 days a week, which 2? And so anyway, it worked out. And this year I said, I am not scheduling it, just show up. Because most of them have been vaccinated because they're all over 60. Yeah. And so it's great.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
So you did a talk, actually, didn't you? You did, was it a talk with Mary that you did on?
Mary Weichel and I, yes, we had done some research, and we wanted to help people regarding therapy pools. So we had some experience with our own facilities. And yes, I am also a PT assistant, and we had opened up our aquatic therapy clinic. And so we had some ideas on what to do. And I think a lot of those restrictions, they've been lifted a little bit, but not much, because so many aquatic therapy sessions are one-on-one. And what about the mask getting wet? And because we were thinking we needed to wear a mask in the water when you're in such close proximity. Because we didn't know very much a year ago. We do know a lot more now.
Absolutely. So and now what are you saying about sort of, especially for teaching, if you're in the water with somebody, are you saying to wear the visor and the mask, or either or what's your?
For my aquatic fitness classes, usually I'm still on the deck because it's a big group and they can see and hear me better. So I do not wear a mask. No mask. We don't wear a mask in the water.
Yeah.
In the therapy setting, the hospital regulated that we wear a mask. And so I still wear a mask because I'm in close proximity to people. And then some of my patients have been most of them have been vaccinated. And so if they want to take it off, that's okay with me.
Yeah.
But I still wear one just because of the rules.
Yes. Yeah. I usually say to my ladies and gentlemen that when they're standing, it's up to them if they want to wear a mask.
Yeah.
you know, that I don't insist, but if they feel more comfortable, I said, be however you feel the most comfortable. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, I'm wearing a mask, but I've been double vaccinated now as well. So I'm
great.
sort of,
And then they did the study in your country, Lynda, on how the chlorine does kill the coronavirus. So we knew that, but then somebody had to do the study, and so now we know.
Yeah, that's excellent. Do you know, I haven't even seen that study, so I'll have to look at it.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
But really, the pools are the safest place, at least outdoor pools, you know, because you've got the UV light from the sun, and it's warm, and it's a good, and if you're staying spaced out, and especially on the deck, they close the restrooms, they close the showers. But it was an opportunity for people to be together doing something that they loved. And we had music that was uplifting and fun, and they could exercise and feel better and see somebody, have a conversation, have a little bit of social time.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. I don't think people realize, and it's not really spoken enough about, I think, is the well-beingness that actually being in the water has. You know, when I sort of teach, and even when I was teaching on the fitness side of things, I'd say it's like a sort of hug, because it touches the whole body. So I say it's like, you know, having a sort of hug from the water. It's tactile. We need touch as humans, and over this past year, we haven't had very much of it. So
I know, it's true. Yeah. So you can hug the water, you can hug it back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're just touching now a little bit on the therapy. So tell me your journey into the therapy side of things.
It's interesting. One time it was at an AEA conference years ago, in the early days, and they talked about the future of aquatics. And this lady was there giving a lecture on, well, you could go teach water exercise at a hotel or on a cruise ship, or or you could go to physical therapy school and do aquatic physical therapy. I thought, that sounds like a great idea. So I checked into the programs here in Austin, and at the community college, they had a physical therapist assistant program. And Ruth Sova said, that's a great idea. That's the future of aquatics, is therapy. So I enrolled, and they interviewed me for the program, and I said, I want to do aquatic physical therapy. And the instructor thought I meant I wanted to do wound care, because in the old days, they would put people in these big tubs and let the wound get wet, and then you kind of do the debriding. I'm like, no, I'm talking about exercising in the water. And it was still pretty new. So I got into the program and graduated, and there were 2 facilities in town that had nice big pools. And so I got hired and was doing aquatic physical therapy starting in 1991.
Wow.
It was a long time ago. I know.
Goodness.
And so I was working in the inpatient setting, which was so wonderful because we saw everything. So we saw persons who had had a stroke, their hips or knees replaced, spinal cord injury, Guillain-Barré, everything. And it was a great learning experience. And it was a big pool, 30 by 60 pool that had a nice gentle slope. We had parallel bars in the pool, a ramp to get in and out, any type of equipment that you wanted. And I learned a lot. And then Ruth Sova was doing A.E.A, and then she sold that to Angie and Julie, and Ruth started A.R.E.A. And so I did a lot of presentations for the Aquatic Therapy and Rehab Institute.
Wow.
And just had some good experience with my patients and could tell real stories about them. And also the doctors were very progressive. The orthopedic surgeons were very progressive and allowed the patients to get in the pool with their incision covered with a product called Tegaderm. And we would get them in 2 or 3 days post-op. And that was my normal thing, and learned by going to these conferences that a lot of doctors are like, no, we need to wait like 2 to 6 weeks. And So
yeah,
everybody's situation is different.
yes, yes. It's very, I mean, it's quite different over here as well, because, and this is part of why sort of my setting up of A.R.E.A and my daughter as well. That over here, the therapy side has been very led by the physiotherapists, and it was very, very hard to get into sort of dealing with patients, dealing with clients. And I've said, and it's sort of been my quest really ever since I've been in the industry, that the people that love the water should also be the ones that are sort of like teaching and dealing with a lot of things. So yes, working alongside physical therapists, but there's over here, so many of the pools are being shut down, the hospital pools and things like that, that we need to sort of like embrace and actually educate and bring up some of the people that are in the aquatic industry, so that the aqua aerobics instructor or the swimming teachers that have all this free time, and that they can sort of deal with your arthritis and you know, your sort of stroke patients and your Parkinson's and things like that. So it's been one of my things to just bring us a sort of balance between the two sides, so that the physios can say, okay, you've had, and especially over here, you generally get six sessions and that's it, you know, you're better. So, so after 6 sessions, you know, you're better, because the NHS won't sort of particularly fund it anymore, but there's nowhere for them to go, because the fitness side of things are too far away from
Right.
that level. So it's bridging that gap. And so that that's become my life's quest now, is to over here to try and bridge that gap. So
you're right. There is a huge need to bridge the gap, even if it's small groups, with your orthopedic patients, with your Parkinson's, with your persons who have had a stroke, balance. You're right. That's a great avenue for people to go to grow with their profession.
Absolutely. And then of course,
and it's very rewarding too.
Absolutely.
To be able to help.
Absolutely.
To help, and you can see them get better before your very eyes.
You can. I mean, I think some of the most successful people I've treated are people that have got soft tissue from road traffic accidents. And then they come in and I do aqua stretch on them, and it's just like, wow, you know, it really is so good. And so for decreasing the pain and everything. So, you know, my sort of passion has come through the doing, the facilitating, and then the teaching of the aqua stretch programs. To the results are amazing. And even myself, when I did the course, I don't know if you can remember actually when I was on that course, because again, I was with you, funny enough. But when I did the course, and it was Laurie and Connie who were teaching it, and I'd had pain for 20 years, and actually just in the training alone, it got rid of that pain. And I'd had x-rays and scans, and I'd been to the doctors, and I'd been to the osteopaths, and I'd had physiotherapy, and no one had they'd sort of like got rid of it for a couple of months and it would come back.
Right.
But when I learned the aqua stretch, it got rid of it, and it's never come back since. So
that's great.
It's amazing.
That aqua stretch program did change a lot for a lot of people just by learning the skill, because for me, I was getting, I wasn't say I was bored, but it was like I hadn't done anything new in a while. And so when the aqua stretch program came around, it was like, oh, this was great. And we were so fortunate to get to share that with so many people. And like you, for example, just got healed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I love it. I mean, I have, you know, I did the A.R.E.A when I was at university, and I've done some Halliwick, and I've sort of dabbled in a lot of different things, but the aqua stretch, I suppose I've done more training in, and a lot more with.
And it's more applicable to so many people, people of all abilities.
And it's also, you do this, and this.
Right.
And, you know, it's sort of a prescribed methodology. So I think it's amazing. It's amazing to teach, and it's amazing to receive. So I am a big fan.
Yeah, I sure would love to receive an aqua stretch session. I haven't had one in a long time.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So fingers crossed, soon, soon, soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the therapy side of things, what sort of clients, I mean, yeah, you said that you get the patients in after a couple of days of surgery and things like that. So what sort of, what am I trying to say? I can't really say what's your favorite. It just sounds so wrong. What I suppose, what do you like sort of dealing with? Is it the pain aspect of things? Do you like to sort of relieve people of the pain, or do you like to help them on their journey of recovery, maybe if they've had orthopedic surgery, or with people who have a sort of condition, a medical actual condition?
Mm-hmm.
Is that well worded? I don't think it was, but it's
what are my favorite patients?
That'll do. Yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of hard to say, because I would say that most of the orthopedic ones, the hip and knee replacements, those are pretty standard, pretty easy. The back pain and the fusions, those are more challenging because everybody is totally different in their recovery, and then the extent of their surgery and their ability. And the neuro ones are great to help them improve their balance and their proprioception and coordination and those things. I can't really say. I really like the neuros because you can see how that works. I like the aqua stretch because you relieve people of pain.
Yeah.
It's great when people are compliant and do their home exercise program that the land therapist has given them, and so they make gradual progress, and you can see that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I love them all.
Yeah. I just listening to you with that. I think the one that I tend to have the least of, I suppose, because of the facility I work in is an orthopedic hospital. So I tend to get more of the orthopods than I do of anything else. So the neuro is not something that I get to see sort of so much on a regular basis. So I suppose I would say chronic pain and the orthopeds are my comfort zone, I suppose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that chronic pain, that's a challenge. They can be quite challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can.
Because you want to help, and some are easier to help than others, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of the psychology you have to get into with those, don't you? Definitely. So yeah, and the way that you word things, I think that becomes quite a challenge as well.
Right.
So yeah. So do you prefer one-to-ones, or do you prefer having the groups?
They're just very different. I just love it all, Lynda. I can't.
As long as
it's hard to
water.
pick. I love all the equipment. I love all the patients.
Yes.
I love the groups. I love the one-on-ones. The groups are fun, and because we're moving hard, we're moving to great music. Every now and then I'll tell a funny joke, and it feels great, and they're loving it. The one-on-one, you can really feel like you're helping somebody because they couldn't participate in a group, maybe, or maybe they just have certain limitations that this is the only thing they can do. I have a few of those that it's almost palliative for them, but you know that they feel better as a result of being in the water, being held. If I hold them and do some nurturing or some Badragas or some Watsu type techniques. So
sometimes it's that freedom, isn't it? That when they're those one-to-ones, that freedom that it takes the pressure off from sitting in a chair or being in the bed. So
you're right. Yeah, you're right. That's a good way to put it. They're free in the water, and they can go under if they want, and it's okay.
Yeah,
they can get in the positions in the pool that they can't usually get to on land. They
Yeah,
can walk in the water, but maybe not be able to walk as far
oh.
or as long on land. And
Do you,
so it
do you
builds their
find that
confidence.
yeah, do you find that becomes quite emotional to you? Because sometimes when I've got somebody who's especially the person I'm thinking of was a stroke survivor, and he was affected quite badly, and for him to sort of, with me and his wife helping, walking across the pool, which there's no way he could do on land, and him getting emotional, and the wife getting, I'm sort of thinking, oh, I'm getting a bit emotional as well. So
Right.
it's, yeah, you sort of become so involved, don't you?
Yeah, and it's very special. It's great. It's them living their life,
Yeah,
giving them some quality, even if it's just for an hour.
so rewarding, so
Yeah,
rewarding.
yeah.
So what would you say then, if you, all of your experiences, right from the fitness, right from the beginning through to this point in time, well, this is a tricky one.
That's a long time.
I'll let you give me a few. So what would you say is some of the most rewarding things that have happened to you? Some of your highlights of your career?
Okay, well, a couple of them. So when I worked at the inpatient clinic, there was a guy who taught scuba diving. So several of us were licensed scuba divers, and he taught us about the buddy program. And we took some persons who had paraplegia and quadriplegia on a scuba diving trip way down to Bonaire. Bonaire was all sidewalks and ramps. And so we'd wheel our buddy down to the dock and transfer them to the boat, leave the wheelchairs on the dock. And I had contacted Craig Stewart to get some wave webs so that they would have better propulsion with their arms. And we went scuba diving. So that we were called the Eels on Wheels.
Ah, brilliant.
And so that was a highlight, to be able to be underwater with persons with paraplegia or quadriplegia, and they were totally free in the water. Oh, that was very
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. Very special.
But these guys were crazy, because you have to figure, well, how did you become a paraplegia or quadriplegia person in the first place? Well, driving their car really fast and flipping over, or getting shot or whatever. So they were really kind of wild. So, but they loved being underwater, and they were taking chances. And then up in the bar afterwards, I think they drank all the tequila one night. They were a crazy group.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
It probably was also the excitement of what they'd been through just at that point in time, that freedom. Yeah. So
the freedom.
Celebrating as well.
Yes. Yeah. So that was good. And I think also really going back to the Aqua stretch, learning that skill that was really so instantaneous with people, seeing them be relieved of pain, like you, for example, and people saying, I've had that pain for 10 years and it's gone. And then them just crying because they couldn't believe it. So that was really great. And just being able to teach that to people, to other therapists and instructors and trainers. Excellent. That's been great.
Have you worked, just thinking about the Aqua stretch, have you worked much with amputees?
Every now and then we had a few of them at the inpatient hospital, and some of them had a prosthetic for the pool, but most of them did not. So we worked on their balance and range of motion. I think Mary Weichel has worked mainly with the wounded warriors.
Yeah, I found Aqua stretch has been absolutely brilliant for amputees, because of course their gait changes if it's the leg, you know, everything sort of like changes, and even if it's an upper limb that they've lost, or you know they've been born without or something, the sort of the fascial connections and the torsions within it are really interesting, and to unravel those with Aqua stretch again is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I knew Aqua Stretch back then at the inpatient hospital, but that would have been great to do.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. Excellent. So any other sort of like amazing moments, or any funny moments, anything that you've done that's sort of like created some entertainment or goofs or anything?
Oh, I'm sure I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, and you know, just kind of keep going with it. I try to continue to educate people, educate my patients, but also try to build a rapport with them so they trust me and they enjoy where they are. And most patients really prefer the pool, the warm water therapy, to being on land, because it's easier but yet challenging at the same time. And they can be sore from working in the water, of course, but I think they feel like they are doing more in the water.
Yes.
You know, they can get the more range of motion, for example, or they can get into positions in the water that they can't on land. And so they feel successful and they want to keep coming.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, isn't it? I don't think there's anything that can really beat it. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've experienced in your career?
Some challenges. I think, well, trying to keep up with a lot of different things. You know, you can only keep up with so much. There's always things to learn. And, you know, I think we have to continue to try new things. And even with a fitness class, you have to be careful that you don't try to change too much, because they'll reject it because they like what you do. There was nothing wrong.
I've had a few of those moments.
But so you can gradually, little by little, and the next thing you know, you've got a totally different program, and that's good. I wasn't really good at Zumba. I tried that. It's fun, but I think our water was too deep. I think you need a little shallower water to be able to move that fast. But it was fun. It was great fun. I wish that our facility could afford some of those poles to do aqua pole dancing. That was so much fun. And so that's kind of nice that there's so many different types of equipment that are continuing to come out. You know, back in the day, we used milk jugs and frisbees. That's all we had.
I remember those days. Going to a leisure centre and seeing them holding like the water bottles and things, and thinking, no, you're never going to get people that attracted to the water when the land classes have got all this amazing equipment, and we're just using empty washing up liquid bottles or something like that. So, that needed to change, definitely.
Yeah. And fortunately it did.
Yes, it did, absolutely. So what about, okay, I'm going to ask you about a challenge. How do you deal with the people that don't stop talking in your class?
Oh, they pretty much know they're not supposed to talk. And I will say to them, am I going to have to separate you two? I'll say things like that. The past few years, that hasn't been a problem. It has been a problem at an indoor pool where I worked before. And so I would just have them change direction a whole lot. Or I would go and stand by them and just kind of, you know, have my presence there. Or sometimes I would announce that, okay, somebody came up to me and said that the talking was very distracting and they would like for y'all to please keep your conversation down, maybe come to class early or stay after to have your conversations, but it's distracting. Or I've told people to ask the person directly, or, you know, we can't hear, or else, you know, and they're like, what'd you say? And then also remind them, if they're talking, they're not working hard enough.
Yeah, I think it's one of the sort of things that, especially when you're new into the industry, becomes quite a challenge and quite frustrating.
Yes,
Sort of
because
dealing with that.
why is it that way in the pool? I mean, I know universally people have their spot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all over the world. All the classes, every instructor knows who's standing where.
Yeah.
But then why is it that they just feel so comfortable to have a conversation during class? I don't know. Some people say they're not working hard enough, or they're just, they think it's just, they're just so comfortable.
Yeah.
They just want to visit.
Yeah. I know we had one lady that said, I come to the class to have fun as well, not just to exercise. And it's like,
yeah.
I think the main sentence I used to say to the ladies in my class was, if your child came home from school with a note saying that the child spoke all day in class, you'd be a bit annoyed. And I'm the teacher and I'm trying to do the best for all of my class. So kindly, don't talk. Or if you're going to talk, just a sentence, but not a conversation.
Yeah. Or I have said, hey, I'm sorry, but I can't hear what y'all are talking about. And I don't mind the whole group talking, having a conversation and talking as a group,
Yeah.
But the private conversations are kind of bother me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they do to all of us. We just have to find our own way of actually dealing with them, don't we? So yeah. And do you also have the spot where, Vera, who comes every week and has done for the past 15 years, but she's gone on holiday, and you better not stand in Vera's spot, because Vera's going to come back after her round the world cruise and she gets her spot back. So you then find for the next 6 weeks or something, there's a gap, or 6 months, there's a gap where she's meant to be, and she's sort of like, you just don't feel. So I think that's a worldwide thing as well, isn't it?
It is. And in fact, a pool where I worked at for 30 years closed down. So a bunch of us in the class went to another facility to see if we wanted to join or see if we wanted to work there. And so the handbars were all around the pool. The instructor had already gotten the equipment out. And I was standing in my spot, I'm a guest. And we were doing our exercises now. And then she says, now let's go get our handbars. So I turned to the wall to get the handbars that I thought were for the general. And I get them. And this lady says, those are mine. I went, oh, okay, here. So she was being quite protective of her equipment and her spot. So I got to feel that, from the other side. Because
quite intimidating.
Yeah.
So. But they don't do it on land classes though, really, do they? It definitely seems to be something, the talking, the spot, the equipment, and it just seems to be very unique to the pool for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that way. And I remember at the club that used to be open, swimmers would come in. There was a girl who taught an evening class, and it was a smaller class, and the swimmers wanted to come and swim during class, which was very distracting. And so we got it to where that 2 hours a week, the pool was not open to swimmers. 2 hours. And that was okay. But it was really hard. And we would say to the manager, if there was a land class going on, there's no way they would accept somebody coming in and jumping rope in the middle of class. It's very distracting. And so he kind of understood that. So he kind of agreed, okay, no lap swimming during class, because they would splash and it would make noise above the music. And
no, that I'm lucky that we take over the whole pool where I am for the classes. So I quite agree. I think it can be very disrupting. And then they purposefully slap the water as well.
And do those flip turns.
Absolutely. So in all the years that you've been teaching, how do you think the industry's changed?
Oh, well, with research, they have learned about more interval training, because back in the day, it was doing routines to songs.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, just like on land. And kind of like a continuous rhythmic movement.
Yeah.
And then it became more of the interval training or the circuit training. And now Tabata is really big,
Yeah.
Fast. And I don't do Tabata, but I do interval training. I do a lot of intervals, which they really like. And so I think, forget any choreographed routines.
Yeah.
That's probably way back in the day. But they were kind of fun. It's kind of fun to learn a dance. And sometimes we'll do a move and everybody's all coordinated. And I'm like, oh, let's put this in the show. And they're like, okay. Of course, we've never had a show.
Yeah.
You talk about having a show, but so I think there's that. And then there's a lot of new equipment. And I think that, some people, I think music for me, as I said, I teach aquatic fitness and music appreciation. And so some of the music with that dun 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 dun, that beat, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do it. And my participants don't like it either. So that you have to, if I'm doing intervals, I have to find some really fast Tom Petty or Bruce Springsteen or somebody that's going to get us going.
That's it. I think also as we get older, the sort of music that we like to listen to still harks back to those, I like sort of doing things to the 60s and 70s type music and things.
And there was some great music in those days.
There was. So, dear. Okay, so we're sort of coming towards the natural end, I think, but I think one of the questions that I ask pretty much everyone is, if you were to retire tomorrow, which hopefully you won't, but what would you like to be remembered for within the industry?
Oh, within the industry. That I would like to be remembered that I tried to have fun and be creative and share skills and knowledge with people, so that whether they're a participant or another trainer, to just be better, be as great as you can be, have fun with it. I mean, I've had a career as an aquatics person. I mean, isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
And so I feel really blessed about that. But so I would just want people to put their heart and soul into it, and you'll definitely be rewarded.
Absolutely. I think you've also hit the nail on the head where you said that you've made a career out of it, because a lot of people don't realize that it can be a complete career. It doesn't need to be sort of a bolt on to your daytime job or anything else. The aquatic industry can be so diverse that it can actually give you a really fulfilling and wonderful career that, can
and you don't know what it's going to lead to.
You don't. And it is does change all the time. And, everyone that I've chatted to has a whole different avenue of how they've gone down and how they've modeled their careers. And I think it is something that you're not going to be taking it out of the tin, because everybody that you see, everybody that you teach is slightly different. And so you come at different angles. It's so diverse. I think it's so changing in every aspect of the, so
yeah, it is. And even getting back to the different types of classes, the AEA now has a certification for the arthritis program, and there's the I.G. program that Ruth Sova created with Jun Kono that has a certification, and the A.R.E.A has a lot of different certificate programs as well. So you can specialize, and I guess that just is based upon your interest and your accessibility to a pool and that particular population.
Absolutely. No, I wouldn't change it for the world. I know that, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. So it's amazing. But
yeah.
Well, I can't think of anything. Have I missed anything? Is there anything else in your?
Well, I think you wanted to ask, you know, what I'm doing now. And and one day I said, what can I do? And so my little Facebook page is called Aquatic Misfit. And so we talked earlier about the handbars and making sure that they're not too easy or too hard. And I think when people, even with backyard pools, are trying to figure out what size handbars to get, you know, to know that there's the smaller ones and the medium ones, and to just kind of look around. And there is a lot of different equipment out there, and I'm just kind of playing with it, creating some awareness, because some people like to buy everything new. Oh, that's new, I want that. That's new, I want that. Oh no, I'm just going to stick with my hydrotone bells or whatever. Or
so that's Facebook. Is that Terri Aquatic Misfit, or just Aquatic
Just
Misfit?
Aquatic Misfit.
And that's MS Fit.
Misfit, yes.
Misfit. Okay, so people can follow you on that and get little tips and ideas and everything.
Yeah.
See what you're up to, really.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Just want to, you know, share some information out there. And I'm not selling anything. I'm not, you know, asking for any money. I just want to, you know, shoot some videos of maybe give you an idea or something, you know, something to do with a piece of equipment.
Oh, that's fabulous. I mean, that's, you know, especially for sort of the people that are fairly new, and they're always, you see on Facebook, has anyone got any ideas for this? Anyone got any ideas for that? So definitely it's a good place, you know, to go and get ideas then, and to also to understand, if you're talking about the different size of equipment, to understand about that aspect of things, which I think is very, very important. So excellent. Okay.
Well, Lynda, I hope I see you next year at either the A.E.A. conference and or the A.R.E.A. conference, because our aquatic family is very special. And we are a wonderful family of people that love the water and love helping people and having fun in the water.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This crazy COVID thing will be over, and next year will be all better.
That's
we can
just
hug and hold that hug for as long as we want.
That's it. Absolutely. So, well, thank you very much, Terri, for your time and for sharing your story and your journey. Very interesting. And
well, thank you too, Lynda. I think this is nice of you to do.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening, Terri. And hopefully, as you say, we'll see each other next year at the one of the conferences.
Great. Thank you, Lynda. It's great talking with you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.